It's time for another blistering report from the front lines of the cultural war for a constitutional America. And now, here's your host, Charles Benninghoff.
Good morning. I got a great story for you today. Just when you thought that Barack Obama's scramble to take in as many unvetted terrorist threats as possible couldn't get any crazier, well, we've learned that a number of pseudo-refugees from Syria and other countries is actually classified. The number is classified. They won't tell you how many they're bringing. Not even Congress knows how many unvetted pseudo-refugees are being dropped off in your community. It turns out that Obama negotiated and entered into a secret treaty with the United Nations and didn't even bother to tell Congress about it. Not a word. Nobody knew about it until someone squealed. Yes, we got to thank those squealers. But just wait until you hear the real details on this one, folks. And I hope when you get this information that you'll put your faith into action and contact Congress with a demand to completely shut down the UN refugee resettlement program until we can restore some sanity to the system under the Trump administration, because it's gone totally insane under Mr. Obama's administration, or regime as some people like to call him. Our friends at WND.com, formerly known as the World Net Daily, report that the chairman of the House and Senate Judiciary Committee just learned about this secret treaty. The deal was negotiated between Secretary of State John Swiftboat Kerry, the United Nations, and the government of Australia. And let me tell you, some people don't know this. John Kerry's daughter, he has two of them. One of them is a medical doctor. She married a very promising doctor of Iranian descent. Now, while the Iranian doctor she's married to is not a quote-unquote jihadi, both of his parents are directly from Iran. They go back to Iran, they got relatives in Iran, and they have a lot of connections to Iran. So you can never underestimate the impact upon John Kerry through his daughter's Iranian contacts. Now, with that being said, this is just one more part and parcel to the Islamification of the United States government. It's not a problem if someone's going to marry a Muslim and they're in the government, of course not. But they have to be a pro-American. They have to be vetted. And the boatloads of unvetted Muslims from Iran, Iraq, Sudan, Somalia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Sri Lanka that have been trying to get into Australia and New Zealand for the past few years are the types of people that really need to be looked at closely. But Kerry didn't do it. I told you part of the reasons why I think he didn't do it. He's got a conflict of interest in his own family. The Obama administration classified all these folks as Syrian refugees, which is a blatant lie. They're not. And they're not Syrian refugees. Only the ones from the country known as Syria are. I read you the list of all of them. That certainly doesn't even include Syria. And this is why I call them pseudo-refugees. I could call them false refugees because that's what they are. And this is obviously a terrorist threat because none of these fighting-age Islamic warriors can be vetted to learn their true identities. Both the State Department, the IRS, and CIA have admitted to the facts that they can't vet these people's background. Unlike the United States federal government, Australia takes this threat very seriously. Well, they don't have any Muslims running the country like we do, at least for another 2 months. Australia won't allow any of these illegal aliens to even set foot on Australian soil. In fact, here's a clip from a public service announcement that the Australian military released in 2014.
The Australian government has introduced the toughest border protection measures ever. It is the policy and practice of the Australian government to intercept any vessel that is seeking to illegally enter Australia and safely remove it beyond our waters. If you travel by boat without a visa, you will not make Australia home.
Australia makes no exceptions and has a zero-tolerance policy for unvetted pseudo-refugees. I told my friends back in 2008 that this is exactly what Obama was going to do because he's a Muslim. He was going to flood our shores with unvetted Muslim warriors. They all laughed. They're not laughing now. You know what? And this is the biggest twist on this tangerine that I've seen holding secret the number of non-Syrian refugees they're bringing into the United States, calling them Syrian refugees. How you like this? It can't get any worse than this. This Muslim man in the White House, he is a real case, I'll tell you that. Well, going back to Australia, the Australian Navy rounds up every single one of these illegal aliens and they ship them to Papua New Guinea and other Pacific islands where they have set up offshore camps. The UN stepped in and asked if any country wanted these unvetted pseudo-refugees. And what happened, do you think? Well, the Obama administration came running. I want these refugees. He gave the sign of the Muslims, the one finger up. Bring them here. Bring them here. I want them. I want them. Bring them here. They're too dangerous to be allowed in Australia, so Obama wants to dump them in your town. Here's where the story gets even really crazier. The House and Senate Judiciary Committee learned through the media reports that Swift Boat Carrier had negotiated a deal to take in these unvetted pseudo-refugees into the United States. This was an international agreement between America, the United Nations, and Australia, which means it's an international treaty, and Congress doesn't even know about it. So we got Obama and Kerry signing treaties without the advice and consent of the Senate. That's unconstitutional. When Congress asked how many of these pseudo-refugees were being brought to America, the senators and representatives were told by the Obama administration, "We can't tell you, the number's classified." We have a copy of the letter that the Judiciary Committee chairman sent to Swift Boat Carrier linked on our action page, and you could read the details there. So don't take my word for it. Go to our action page and click on a link and read what the guy said. The number of unvetted Muslim pseudo-refugees is classified. So forget about the official numbers that you see in the news reports. They say it's 10,000. Some say it's 100,000. I think it's more like 400 or 500,000 of these people they brought in. Not even Congress knows the exact number that the UN and the Obama administration are smuggling into our country. We don't know if they're members of Al-Qaeda or the Islamic State. We don't know who they are, and we don't know how many there are. And if Congress is just learning about this treaty, which was signed by a representative of the United States State Department, how many other countries has Obama made this same deal with? And they're all sending these unvetted Muslim warrior age people to our local streets and cities. This entire refugee scam is operated by the UN High Commission for Refugees. It's the only reasons why it's high is because smoking the stuff some of their countrymen are selling. Congress cuts the UN a big fat check every year, and the American people get no say in who we take in. This is why more than 99% of the unvetted pseudo-refugees coming to America under the Obama administration are Sunni Muslims. No Christians are allowed to migrate out of terrorist hellhole countries by Muslim-dominated United Nations. We also know that socialist billionaire George Soros has been fomenting the whole Syrian refugee crisis. Every time there's a terrorist attack committed on American soil by an unvetted Muslim, it rattles the stock market. Soros makes money, hand over fist, by short-selling the dollar and short-selling the stock. And he's been doing that for years. And I pointed that out in previous videos. And you know what happened when he funded Black Lives Matter? Look how many cops got killed. That's a real good thing to have tagged on George Soros. We need to do something about that, and that's why we're speaking out. And we can put a stop to this, America, if we do speak out. Congress is still negotiating the 2017 fiscal budget, and that is where the UN gets its funding for this refugee program. I say, cut out every dime. Don't send them a nickel. Don't send them a penny. Cut them out completely. I'm not opposed to the United States taking in legitimate refugees so long as we can vet each one of them to know without a doubt they're not terrorists. The official State Department policy under Obama is to deny refugee admission to any Christian. How much more Muslim can that be? That policy is 100% Muslim. I can't understand how the United States of America sits by and watches this happen. I've been fighting it, and I'm going to continue fighting it until I've beaten it. You know what? And then Obama's 2 secretaries of state, crooked Hillary Clinton and swiftboat John Kerry, have been running around for 8 years launching wars for George Soros and cutting secret deals to take in classified numbers of unvetted pseudo-refugees, 99% of whom are unvetted Muslims of fighting age. That's crazy, and we can't stop this refugee program right now if we don't do something about it. And the way that we do something about it is tell Congress. We got to put them on notice that they have to start acting and stopping this craziness. So go to our action page today and start sending personalized letters to Congress. Demand from Congress that the UN Refugee Resettlement Program be completely defunded. So stay tuned. Bob Mallory will have instructions on the next screen explaining how you can get to our action page. This is Charles Benninghoff signing off and wishing you freedom, fulfillment, and God's many, many blessings.
Tell Congress to cut all funding to the United Nations Refugee Resettlement Program now that the Obama administration refuses to even tell the American people how many our communities are forced to take in. If you're watching this on our action page on our website, use the form next to the video screen to select a program. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, click the icon appearing now to find a link to our action page, or check the video's description to find the link. Speak out today.